Welcome to Chapter 9.1. This is our very first section of our data and statistics section. Today we're going to talk about samples and surveys. With samples and surveys, sometimes we want to get a general feel of an entire population without actually surveying every single person. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a random group, survey them, and hopefully that represents the entire population. The population is the entire group that's being considered for a survey. For instance, if we wanted to get a general feel of how St. Louis residents feel about a certain bill or an issue surrounding the city, our population would be the city of St. Louis. Now, to obtain that general sense of what's going on, we take a sample, which is part of the population. It's smaller, but it's going to give us an idea of how the population feels. Now, in order to get a good sense of feel, we have to take a random sample. That means each member of the population has equal chance of being selected. In this way, our data is going to be a lot better. It's going to represent that population. So a random sample is the best way to get the desired results. Now, there's different types of ways to take samples. The first sampling method that we're going to look at is random. That means it's just by chance. There's different ways to take random samples, and we'll talk about different ways that we can. The next one is systematic. It's according to a rule or formula. For instance, every third person. Another sampling method is stratified. It means at random from randomly chosen subgroups. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but it's, for instance, if we wanted to get a sense of the entire school, but we just took one 7th grade class. So we took a smaller subgroup, but it's still chosen at random. The next one's a convenience. It's just the easiest people to reach. So for instance, this would be like if you want to survey your friends. They're easy to contact, and they're usually going to be hanging out around you. And the final way is a voluntary response. That means members are chosen to be in the sample, or they choose to be in the sample. So, for instance, readers of a newspaper would be an example of a voluntary response. Or people that call into a radio show to voice their opinion. They don't have to, but they choose to. I want you to take your time now and go ahead and read through these next three, A, B, and C, and identify what sampling method was used to obtain the data. Your choices should be the ones from the chart above. When you're ready to continue, go ahead and hit play. Go ahead and check your answers now. If you have questions on these, go ahead and mark them, and we will talk about them in class. Now, using these strategies to collect data, some strategies give better data than others. So, for example, the random always gives us really good data. Voluntary response might give us some skewed data. When I say skewed data, I mean it's a biased sample. So it does not accurately represent the population. Think about this. If you were at a concert, maybe like One Direction concert, and you wanted to get a feel for how everyone in St. Louis felt about One Direction. If you took a sample at that concert, you're not going to get data that accurately represents the population. Another way to think about this is it's predictable. Okay, the final part of this I'm going to have you complete on your own. We'll talk about it in class, but it basically comes down to identifying the population, identifying the sample, so who is being surveyed, and how this might be a biased survey. So how could it be predictable? Why would it not represent the entire population? Okay, I want you to complete these, bring them to class. We will be ready for discussion on them on Tuesday.